The Rams coaching staff for 2026 is set in stone. Great to see new hires and some guys get elevated. And Bobby Trees is back with the Rams. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about other NFL news regarding rule changes and the Rams on this update episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. Welcome back. If you're on YouTube, like our video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any other free agency frenzy, draft content, uniforms, logos, all that fun fashion that I enjoy with this team. And for anything else that may pop up from now until games and practices start very, very soon, which, blink of an eye, everyone. We'll be back full force. Just wait on it. And if you're on the audio only, podcast only, share everything, everyone. Helps other Rams fans see our content. And thanks for subscribing to everyone to get us over 3,000. Feels like just yesterday, Mark, we were hovering at 500 for a couple years, and it was like, well, we hope Rams fans are seeing our goods, but for the love of the game, the love of doing this, we did not sour. And we appreciate everyone supporting this channel, and happy 3,000 to all of you and counting that support us and support Rams football. Right, Mark?
Absolutely. If you had told me we were going to get to 3,000 a couple of years ago, man, it just seems so far off. But, we just keep on pumping out content and it's paying off.
Yeah, not that long ago, everyone. Again, probably like a year and a half, 500. So we appreciate everyone supporting us. But with that said, Mark, good news. And kind of, I don't know when I thought coaching staff stuff would be announced, but this is the right time of year, right? Get everyone in the building and let's start game planning for who you want in the building, player wise, et cetera, et cetera. So the Rams 2026 coaching staff is set, and a pretty fun list, if I got to say. When this dropped earlier this afternoon or whatever time that was, I was like, man, I like a lot of the names on this grouping right here. Let's pull it up, everyone. The full laundry list, if you want to call it that, because it is, pretty long one. And as we pull it up here, you'll see Sean McVay, the head coach, duh. Cliff Kingsbury, the assistant head coach. Why didn't we think of this earlier, Mark, when we discussed what his role would be? Duh, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty good pairing there. Offensive minds on the sideline there. And I think, I wouldn't be happy about that if I was a defensive coordinator in the NFC West, looking across the sideline, knowing these two guys are rubbing their hands together, dreaming up plays and game plans for the Rams.
Yeah, and before I start jumping the gun a little bit more, guys, 14 coaches on this 2026 staff are either new or have been elevated to a different elevation, maybe personal stepping back. We'll get into a guy or two that may be the case. Again, we don't know officially. I'm sure Sean will elaborate when the new league year press conferences drop for all of us to watch. We'll get further clarification. But, for now, we'll speculate, which is fine. Right, Mark? But going back to Kingsbury here, duh, he's the assistant head coach. Again, why didn't we think of this? Of course, did a good job with Arizona, right? Got them to the playoffs for the first time in, since the Bruce Arians, I believe, NFC Championship game where they lost to Carolina back in, what year was that? 2014, 15, I think. So that did a good job with Jaden Daniels, with Washington a couple years ago. And honestly, he was scapegoated this past year. And, Washington's going to continue to do Washington things, I guess. But a good guy to help steer the ship, someone with tons of experience. And I'm in favor of this, and I hope it works out, right, Mark?
Yeah, and I think he kind of got screwed in Arizona as well. He was, Kyler Murray, so talented, but Cliff was kind of stuck with him. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
It may not sound right saying you're stuck with Kyler Murray, but I think that was the case, and it just didn't work out for him. But man, worked out for the Rams, ending up with us.
Yes. And I mean, going back to the list, everyone, we'll highlight all the new guys or elevations, etc. But we'll crank through everyone who's staying put as well, of course. So we don't go deeper dive on these guys who are returning in the same spot. Apologies on that if you're hoping for that, but we want to talk about guys new and or are elevated, and the guys who are gone too. We'll get to those eventually, Mark, as well. So Kingsbury, of course, then officially, right? Nate Shieldhouse, the offensive coordinator. Shocker. We talked about it last time we got together, Mark, I believe, where didn't get the head coaching gig, maybe wasn't ready for that responsibility. And here we go. We'll see what happens with him, right?
Yeah, I have to wonder how much Cliff and Nate will be, sharing thoughts during the week. Probably a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's earning a lot of respect around the league really fast. That's for sure.
Yep, that's good. And hopefully he does a good job for us, please. And I'm sure if he does, he'll be gone in a year or two. And Kingsbury and probably a lot of other guys on this list. Let's be real about it. As the McVay coaching tree continues and continues to grow. So there you go, right? Nate Shieldhouse gets officially elevated to offensive coordinator. And then Dave Ragone originally was dropped as co-offensive coordinator, which is still probably the case, but he's officially listed as associate coordinator, excuse me, / QB's coach. But it's pretty much the same thing, right, Mark? He's still the co-guy, Ragone.
Yeah, I think it's semantics here,
Yeah.
and that probably makes more sense. But man, there's a lot of offensive minds at work here at the top
Hmm.
of the ladder. McVay, uh, Cliff, Nate, and Dave. Now, they all. I'm sure it's going to work out fine, but I think it's pretty unique to have this many great offensive minds, or guys that their total existence is really about designing plays and designing offensive game plans. But and Burgone's also got the quarterback responsibility as well.
Yeah.
But man, I'm really excited about it though.
Yeah. Former Ram man, right? Coordinated a bunch, coached a long time. I think he'll be ready for this elevation, like we talked about last time. So that's pretty cool. And then, right, we get to Rob Calabrese as someone who was on the staff last year. He was an assistant to everyone, and he is taking now the full-time responsibility as the wide receivers coach, which is pretty interesting. We'll get to others that were associated with that before. And again, last year he was an offensive assistant, not necessarily just wide receivers or anything else, but he is now the full-time wide receivers coach. And hey, hopefully his ideas, his personal philosophy will blend in nicely with what Rams football is at the wide receiver position, which is do everything: block, run, catch, route running, toughness. The standard that was set many moons ago back in 2017. So hopefully his style will blend in nice with that group, Mark. Whoever is brought in, drafted, and obviously Puka and Devontae and others returning. Hopefully it goes well there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about another coach in this wide receiver tree in a minute, but it's good I think it's really smart in any industry to, change guys' roles a little bit, whether it's a promotion or even a slightly different assignment. In the long run, that really pays off for an organization. But yeah, it looks like he's paid his dues and ready to go.
Yeah, pretty cool. So we'll see what he brings to that room, and hopefully things go well, as that wide receiver room has been, you could argue, the heart and soul of Rams football since Sean McVay got into this organization and changed things around. The wide
Yeah.
receivers are the
Yeah,
big
just
part of it.
worth
So,
worth mentioning. I was just looking up Rob because I don't know a lot about him, but he did
yeah.
play quarterback and wide receiver in college, so there is a background there.
Thank God. We need guys that have some experience, right? At least for our squad. But there you go. Calabrese, the new wide receivers coach. And then Ryan Windell, multi-time champion with the Patriots. He'll come back to coach the O-line. Why change that? He's done a great job since he's taking on that role. Then you got Scott Huff. He'll return to coach the tight end group. Done an absolutely fantastic job getting 4 tight ends to play good football for this team this past year. Why change that at all? Duh. Ron Gould will return as the running back coach. Done one hell of a job with that group. Obviously, Kyron and Blake have tons of talent, but hey, trusting Ronnie Rivers to go in and do a decent job when asked in years past and this year. Why change that, right, Mark? Zach Cromer returns as the assistant O-line coach. Again, why change anything with the O-line, right? And then, pretty dang cool, former Super Bowl champion Brian Allen, as he was an offensive assistant, kind of on like I don't know if I would call it an intern role last year. There's not really stuff like that for coaches, kind of, but not necessarily. He's officially an assistant O-line coach, and as his management team, AMDG Sports, hopefully I read that asterisk abbreviation right. They say second act, Brian Allen, the new assistant O-line coaches. They put this out a couple weeks ago, by the way, so maybe they spoiled the fun of the coaching hires a little early, but who cares? Good on Brian Allen coming back, man. Super Bowl champion, played good football for us, and it's cool to see another former Ram return and want to be a part of this and get into coaching. Pretty cool.
Yeah, every time I hear Brian Allen's name, I go back to that call Les Snead to him when he got drafted. One of the funniest calls I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He's out there hunting in the woods. Like, yeah, man, what do you want? But I never saw coaching in this guy's future. But of course, I guess I misjudged him. The Rams seem to. Sean McVay obviously sees a coaching future with him, so that's great. Great to see.
Yeah, and that's important. Like you just said there, Sean McVay believes that he's adding value, not just
Right.
hey, my old Super Bowl champion starting center for shits and giggles, right? We
Oh,
believe in what you're bringing to the table to get guys to play their best, help out, win a championship again. Now, as a coach, that'd be pretty sick. That gets pulled off, which we're hoping for, right, everyone? So pretty dang cool. Brian Allen gets elevated from assistant, intern, whatever that was last year, as he wasn't on the official coaching staff list last year, but we knew he was around. Pretty cool that he's now on this list, getting paid and promoted as such.
yeah.
And then everyone, my favorite, which was a shock, surprise, and made me smile from ear to ear. Robert Woods is officially on this coaching staff as an assistant wide receivers coach. Hell yeah. A couple of days ago, man, retiring as a Ram. And I'm sure after that, he was like, hey, Sean, like, I want to help out too. And yet another example, Mark, everyone, how former players from the McVay era want to return in some capacity. And Sean McVay, excuse me, believing in that player to add serious value and get him in as a coach. Bobby Trees wearing a coach's gear on the sideline. We already talked about him being an LA legend, Mark, high school SC Rams, and now he can make an impact as a coach here. That is sick.
Yeah, he's an LA guy. This is probably the dream scenario for him in
Dude.
retirement. And I just imagine Robert Woods is going to be a hard ass wide receiver coach. Yeah, you're missing blocks. You're not taking care of your teammates on jet sweeps down the sideline. He's going to be all over you because he's one of the best at it. Just a physical, nasty wide receiver. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Having him and Brian Allen on board is kind of cool.
Mark, everyone, do you know how serious this is actually? I'm just thinking about it in my head. The literal man who coined a Rams wide receiver, like we talked about an episode or two ago. Like when you think of a Rams wide receiver and you hear scouts, other players, staffs from other teams, coaches, GMs are like, yeah, that's a Rams wide receiver. It's literally based off him. So to have
Right.
him in the building, coaching up young Puka Nakua, getting Devontae even more acclimated, any other young gun, Jordan Whittington, we expect Xavier Smith to come back. Let's be real, everyone. Anyone drafted, I mean, this is insanely positive. I don't think we're appreciating that as I'm saying it out loud, how seriously good this is to teach Rams wide receivers this season and hopefully years to come what it means and what it takes to be the type of player he was, or at least get as close as you can. This is amazing, honestly, as I just think about it live here.
Yeah, come to think of it, even this year, I've seen a couple of references to wide receivers in the draft, kind of Robert Woods-ish, those types of references.
So I mean, this excites me. Obviously, one of my favorite Rams ever. Duh. But everything I just explained, him helping out the future generations get to as close as they can to that guy. And if that's the case, if we can get a bunch of Robert Woods-esque players out there, we have many more winning seasons and playoff victories ahead of us, I feel. So that's my favorite on this list. That was a shock, fun surprise. And as we go back to the main list, everyone, we get to Eric Yarber, who was the solo main wide receivers coach since Sean McVay got him from UCLA back in 2017. But this year, I'll present two scenarios to everyone on this. So he's officially the senior offensive assistant / wide receivers coach. And speaking of a man who was instrumental of building a wide receiver for the Rams, right? Obviously, Robert Woods, Young Cup, and everyone else who's gone through this building. Now, Puka, he's got a big part in that as well. But, Mark, again, the two scenarios. Scenario, let's say 1A, is that maybe he wants to take a step back and say, hey, my days of coaching are nearing the end. Maybe not this season, maybe not even the season after. But maybe, hey, let's start getting somebody else to get into that role so it's not some cutoff transition where it's like, uh-oh, Eric Yarber's gone. What's going to happen? That's scenario 1A that I think is possible. Or scenario 1B is that he's being elevated for a lot more game plan-esque responsibility through the pass game. Not necessarily being a coordinator, but he'll work even more closely with Shieldhouse, with Kingsbury, with Sean and others to get a game plan together, at least in the wide receiver world or offensive world in general, to help win games. So what do you think, Mark? He's taking a step back purposely, or this is a way to elevate his involvement with the offense as a whole? What do you think it is? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I can only guess, and I have a feeling he's offering to step back a little bit.
Mm.
As you get older, I've been there. You have a willingness to maybe take on some different types of responsibilities. And I'll tell you this: great leaders recognize when it's time to hand off to someone else. That's what good leaders recognize that maybe someone has something special to offer, and I'm going to step out of the way and let them shine. And maybe that's what's going on here. Certainly hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. That he is, if he is, again, we're going down scenario 1A, that he is purposely stepping back to help ingratiate Calabrese and others, Robert Woods maybe, and whoever else, that is his own choice. But it could also still be true, Mark, that maybe we go down option 1C, where 1A and 1B are kind of combined together.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah,
a step
absolutely.
back, but then also, hey, we're still going to give you this responsibility of helping out with game planning more. So, I mean, if I had to guess, maybe 1C is the best answer, a combination of the two. Step back, and then also, hey, help us game plan more as well, since you are, you know, your role with just wide receivers is a little bit less. Now you can help out Sean and Kingsbury and Shieldhouse and Ragone and everyone else. So I hope that's the case. Either way, he's still on the staff, still helping wide receivers, and as long as he wants to be around, man, he is one of the pillars of Rams football, especially in the wide receiver room, just like Robert Woods we talked about, right, Mark?
Yeah, a wealth of knowledge, and he's got a couple of guys he can continue to mentor. So it's all good.
Yeah, all good for sure. I mean, he's not some old guy. I mean, everyone thinks like, you gotta be like who's the one coach that was with Tampa for a long time? He was like pushing 90. Good on that guy for playing or coaching a long time. Not everyone's gonna go down that path, but selfishly, I hope Eric Yarber is one of those guys. I hope go till the good Lord says no more for you, Eric Yarber. But hey, I will let him decide his own future, which I'm glad he wants to stick around, no matter what the role is going to be. So there's Eric Yarber, everyone. Again, senior offensive assistant / wide receivers coach And me and Mark agree. We think it's going to be a step back from wide receivers solely, and then also helping out Sean Millers for game planning. Hope that's the case. Then, everyone, we have Robert Wright. He is a senior defensive assistant. And remember, this is the man who coached Sean Dolak at Buffalo, coordinating there, coordinated at Syracuse. And remember, we were kind of speculating, Mark, what his role could be. Could he be an assistant linebacker coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So he's going to be the guy, Mark, that has a defensive philosophy and coaching background that's going to help out the offense. And this could be a gazillion different scenarios of how this role could be. But my guess, and tell me if you agree, if you have whatever your thoughts are as well, of course, that it'll be helping game plan, but from a defensive perspective, helping the offense. Saying, hey, hey, Sean, everyone, coaching staff, you guys aren't running the ball enough. How about if you ran duo insert a little bit more, then that would be tough to guard. I'm just giving a fun, dumb scenario there, but stuff like that, everyone. I feel like that's going to be his role. And then also maybe helping watch opposing defenses and be like, hey, this is their tendency here. This is their tendency there. I think it'll be a combo of all that. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I also think there could be a component, and this is from a layman's perspective with zero coaching experience. But I would want to know if I'm Sean McVay. Say, okay, you see what we're doing. You saw what we did last week. You see what our philosophy is. How would you defend it? How would we expect defenses to come at us next week? And what adjustments should we make? And at game time, halftime adjustments as well. Hey, this is what they're doing. This is what they're taking away, and these are the adjustments you should make. That type of thing.
Yep, I hope it's all the above. So again, everyone, Robert Wright, senior defensive assistant, helping out the offensive staff as he's listed on that side of the ball. And I believe all those roles are going to be in junction of what he does on a week-to-week basis starting now, which is cool. And we'll see what happens and how much of a say he has on things, which I hope is a good amount that will positively impact our team to a Super Bowl championship. Then we get to the defensive staff, everyone, right? Chris Shula, no head coaching gig for him. He returns as defensive coordinator. Gibbs Smith stays with the D-line coach and run game coordinator, right? Did a great job getting Tyler Davis to play better. Obviously, Puna Ford playing good football. Braden, Kobe. Hopefully we see more from Ty Hamilton and others and whoever gets drafted in this building. But no need to change that, right, Mark? Gibbs Smith, again, D-line/run game coordinator. Greg Williams with the inside linebackers. He returns. Did a good job getting Nate Landman to play good football. Had Omar Speights playing good football. Other than, there were some bad moments we pointed out. Again, I'm not trying to pick on Omar, but in general, right, him, Dolak, Reeder, they all played and they all did a solid job at the minimum. We're cool with that, right, Mark? Greg Williams, inside linebackers coach. And then here we go. Jimmy Lake. He gets elevated to pass game coordinator and the overall defensive backs coach, everyone. Jimmy Lake last year, in case everyone's like, wait, who is this? Who are you talking about? He was somebody, everyone, that was another assistant. He was somebody who had coached in many, many different spots and was somebody that a lot of people were like, hey, did the Eagles cast him off? Did other organizations cast him off? But if you remember, Jimmy Lake was with us back, what year was that, Mark? 2023, I believe. And then he went with Raheem Morris to be the coordinator of the Falcons, and then he got canned there. But he's back, and now he's elevated, not to a coordinator role, but to or not a main defensive coordinator role, excuse me, if I say that correctly there, but someone who will help out, get the pass game in a better shape than it was a year ago, Mark, and then also help the DB room, which we'll get to some other thoughts on that in a short while. But your thoughts on Jimmy Lake being elevated? Again, a guy with former coordinator role with the Falcons, calling plays, etc., and then also returning to the Rams and being trusted by Sean McVay with this new responsibility.
Yeah, and he had the defensive backs. He was the defensive back coach for Boise State and the University of Washington as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and you're right. He was the assistant head coach with the Rams in 2023. So he's got experience with the defensive backs. He's got a very familiarity with Sean McVay at this point. So yeah, it makes sense.
Makes sense, and well, hopefully he does a good job and gets our secondary playing better than it did for 2 months God, still irritates me. Anyway, new season, new staff. We'll feel better soon, everyone, eventually. But hey, Jimmy Lake, there you go. Pass game coordinator and DB coach as he was elevated from an assistant last year to now this higher up role. And then hey, Chris Beek returns as a safety coach. Why change it there? Cam Curl had the best season of his career. Cameron Kitchens had a nice season again. And again, you can point to, hey, the secondary as a whole didn't play their best. But I think out of all the position groups, the safety in that secondary, and we'll throw Quinn Lake in that group. I know he plays a lot of slot corner, big nickel, star, whatever name you want to call it. Did a good job. Why change that, right, Mark? Chris Beek returning to coach the safeties. Then you got Joe Caniglio coming back as the outside linebackers coach, right? Coaching the guys who play on the edge of the defense. Byron Young, Jared Verse. I thought he got Josiah Stewart playing good football. Dejuan Johnson converting from D tackle to outside linebacker. That worked out pretty nicely, and he has a lot to do with that, Mark. So, I mean, why change all those guys when things went well with those groups for the most part, right?
Yeah, those are probably more consistent groups up front there, and they produce for the most part. I mean, there was times where we maybe wished for a little more production, but yeah, overall, pretty solid units, and they perform well.
Yeah, and thank God. I know we were disappointed with the outside linebacker group, and we can argue that Byron Young's knee wasn't right, which is probably true. Jared Verse needs to work on more moves, which is probably true. But I think as a whole, with how that group 1, 2, 3, and 4, all the guys we named down to Dejuan Johnson, no need to change. Again, shout out to Beak, shout out to Caniglio, and they will return. Then we get to Drew Wilkins, as he is somebody that is being elevated to this staff. And you could argue, you're like, okay, who is this? What? Who is that? What is the responsibility? Right? I mean, I'm sure many people are like, what? But hey, everyone, with Drew, he is somebody who is rising up the coaching ranks. He has been with the Giants. He had done good stuff with the East West Shrine Bowl, right, for the college guys. And somebody who Sean McVay believes in, somebody that Sean thinks, hey, you could help us out, get in the right gear to get this pass rush in a better spot. Does that make sense? And hopefully that's the case, Mark. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so pass rush coordinator, I assume that I'm wondering how this works out on a practice day, and I'm not expecting you to have the answer. You got the defensive line coach, you got the outside linebacker coach, you got the run defense coordinator, and the pass rush coordinator. So obviously, the outside linebackers and the defensive line have to coordinate their pass rush. So I assume that's what this coach does: is basically game plan, call the stunts, work on stunts, and all those the minutia of the pass rush between the two units.
Yeah. And eh, now I'm just thinking about it. I think he was with New England, right? When they were changing staffs, when everyone got fired, then he left there and came with us, I believe, when they were changing it from Bill Belichick to Gerard Mayo, I believe. If my memory serves me correct. Apologies if that's not exactly right. But hey, Sean McVay believes in him to give him that responsibility. And hopefully in 2026, we'll see a lot of improvement with his contributions. Another year with this team, right, Mark? So that's my hope.
Yeah.
So we'll see what
Sure.
happens, everyone. So there you go. Drew Wilkins. And then Mike Hunter. Remember, we were theorizing not too long ago, the man who was with Ohio State when they won a national championship coaching DBs there. All right, Caleb Downs. We'll see if that happens. Probably not, but that'd be fun. Went to Tennessee this past couple months and he said, "Oh, Rams are calling. See you later." Volunteers, whatever that is. And he joined our staff. Can't blame him. Come on, NFL, coach the Rams. Who's not taking that gig? For all the Tennessee fans that are mad about that, which I seen plenty. He will be an assistant DB coach like we theorized originally, Mark, but it's good to see that he's officially going to be that. And hopefully him and the whole defensive staff as a whole, right, in general, Shula, Jimmy Lake and others with Beak and tandem, they can just get that room playing consistently good for not just 10 weeks, but an entire 17 plus playoff games, right?
Yeah, you have to wonder, do the Rams have scouts that go out and scout these college coaches? Because some of these guys just come out
Maybe.
of nowhere,
Yeah.
word of mouth maybe just travels about, hey man, this guy knows what he's doing. Because to go from Ohio State to Tennessee and to the Rams in a matter of a couple months, um, he must been he must be a name on a lot of people's wish list, and the Rams just pulled the lever and got him on board. So that's cool.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully his contributions will do well for us, right, everyone? So there you go. My country, we officially know what he will be, the assistant DB's coach. And then we get to Brian Johnson, who was with the Eagles as an offensive coordinator not too long ago, coaching up Jalen Hurts in that squad. Then was with Washington for the last couple of years. And I'm sure Kingsbury had a lot of say to get him over here. Let's be honest, right? Where they did a good job with Washington a couple of years ago with Jaden Daniels being probably the best rookie season ever. Let's be honest, how much he carried that franchise that year where they went to the NFC Championship and obviously got whooped by the Eagles. But again, coordinated with Jalen Hurts and that Philly team, had a big role with Jaden Daniels and Kingsbury and everyone and Washington the last couple of years. And I'm sure, again, Kingsbury said, we got to bring that guy into some capacity. So, Mark, just like how Robert Wright is the
Right.
defensive mind helping out offense, he will be the offensive mind helping out the defense. And like we talked about with Wright, game planning, maybe watching film from the Rams defense, watching opposing teams' offenses, and helping with tendencies, points of emphasis, and everything that involves getting a good game plan and winning, scouting, etc. Right?
So he'll be the guy screaming, "It's 3rd and 5, and our DBs are playing 10 yards deep. Let's change that up a little bit."
Well, hopefully. I hope that's the case,
That
but
wasn't so much this past season, but the season before, it just seemed to happen a lot where we just
yeah,
playing
true.
off coverage on. But yeah, I understand his role. He'd be the guy that would uh, help the defense figure out, advise them on what the offense is, where the offense might see the weaknesses and how they're going to attack us, that type of thing.
Yep, and again, a man with coordinating history, calling plays, worked with different types of offensive philosophies. Obviously, Kingsbury. If I had to guess, I'd bring that man over. Which good on Sean for listening to that. If that is the case, which I think is probably the case, so good on him. Hopefully, he helps out the defense play more consistently, not just for 10 games, but for 17 and beyond. Please, right? That's what we need, and we'll host a Lombardi, right? And then special teams. We talked about it. Bubba Ventrone, of course, getting the new hire. And, not a fan of this based on, again, I'm a big DVOA guy. I think those are pretty objective stats. His Browns teams on special teams weren't great in DVOA, sometimes ranked worse than the Rams, which is Cleveland Brown fans are glad to see him gone. What does that tell you? Not great. But he'll bring over his buddy to assist him, Kyle Hoke, as he'll be the assistant special teams coach as well. So, Mark, we hope that him and Bubba Ventrone will steer this thing into at least be average, please. Right. But who knows? We'll find out. Sean doesn't seem to get special teams right very often. We hope this time around it is, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I'm a cup is half full guy, but you wanted them to make a big splash as far as righting the ship of the special teams, and this didn't seem to be the splash move a lot of us were expecting. But let's hope it works out. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. Just his track record hasn't been that impressive, so maybe he'll get it turned around with the Rams.
Yeah, we're hoping for the Indianapolis Colts version of Bubba Ventrone, right? Where they were pushing top 10 some years in the top 10, and where a lot of players were upset he didn't get the interim coach when they got in Jeff Saturday. Remember that, Mark? That was crazy. So we're hoping for that version of Bubba, and we'll see if that comes to life, which it needs to, please, in 2026. My God. So again, there's a full coaching staff for everyone. New guys who are elevated, guys who are returning and staying put at their current positions. And then let's not forget about Dan, Coach Smash, people like to call him, right? They just kind of abbreviate the SH in there and just say Coach Smash. He'll return as the game management coordinator slash assistant tight ends coach. So hopefully we see him have more of a say. Hey, Sean, stop calling dumbass timeouts at wrong points in the game. Or how about, hey, let's play this a little bit better. Maybe we don't have to go for it on fourth down as much because, the thicker kicker can make some field goals. And I'm sure all that will change now that the group will feel better about special teams and they will perform. Sean will feel better about managing, maybe not being so trigger happy on offense, and even, helping out the defense too with situations, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see. But Coach Smash, quote unquote, stays put, and hopefully we see a bigger impact, a bigger positive impact from him, right?
Yeah, as long as Sean's listening to him.
Yeah, I know. That's really it, ain't it? As long as he listens, but who knows? I get it, man. When you have that big old play sheet in front of you and you're trying to find the perfect one for Stafford to throw a laser beam, you get caught up, and I'm sure, everything kind of goes white noise silent as you're looking for that play, which, hey, tough world to be in, but Sean can handle it. And look, it's a little nitpick of Coach McVay, but we'll take that over being a crappy team majority of my early life for the St. Louis days. So, again, don't get mad at me in the comments, everyone, but I know you agree with me deep down. But, I mean, there's a coaching staff, Mark. Anyone you want to highlight real quick? I know we went through everyone, but is there one more person you're like, you know what, let's talk about him a little bit more before we move on?
Well, the one position that, I hope we see improvement in is with defensive coordinator Chris Shula. This is his third season, and it's make or break for Chris Shula this year. I mean, there's been promise, but he needs to coach this defense up to be not necessarily elite, but better than we saw the second half of the season. That was not good for his resume. And, so he comes back, and we're putting a lot of faith in him because that's what costs this team, the defense. Yeah. And it still concerns me that, when you hire your buddy, and you may stick with your buddy longer than you should. And I don't mean to be throwing Chris Shula under the bus and saying he sucks.
That's real though, dude. That's real.
Yeah. But hopefully, they're surrounding him with a good staff, and they go heavy in free agency in the draft with on defense and get the right players in there, especially cornerbacks that can play the style they want to play. But assuming they do all that, man, this defense better perform, or it's end of the line for Chris Shula, or it could go the other way. He's a head coach in 2027.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest about it, Mark, everyone tuning in here. If the defensive unit was average the last couple months, this team convincingly wins a Super Bowl. Honestly, convincingly. The offense was lights out. If they were at least average against the Seahawks, the secondary especially, they would have won that game, and then they would have also convincingly beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 60. And Shula's probably hired and is a coach for one of the teams that had a bunch of openings. What was it, like 6-7 teams, Mark, this past couple or month or two? So that didn't happen. We live in this timeline where things went south, and he's returning. Everything I agree with what you said. Got to see a massive improvement from him. Game planning, play calling, especially. And I think the additions, and this kind of segues into what we're going to get into next year, everyone. The 4 coaches who will not be back, which I think has a lot of sway into guys who were brought in and elevated, and why the guys who are not coming back are now gone. And some of these guys we don't, again, have official word on why, or are they purposely stepping down or leaving? We don't know that for a fact. But these 4 coaches will not be back. And this isn't including Chase Blackburn, who got canned, week 17, whatever, or week 16 and a half going into 17. Aubrey Pleasant won't be back. Mike Harris, who was a defensive assistant, who also coached the secondary. See a trend there. Alex Van Pelt, who was an offensive assistant, right? He coached up Drake May, calling plays for him with the Patriots 2 seasons ago now. He will not be back. And then, unfortunately, Ben Kotwika, who I liked, he's gone because obviously Bubba Ventrone and his Cleveland guy are now in the building. But uh, to your point about Shula and that improvement on the side of the ball, Mark, Aubrey Pleasant and Mike Harris being canned, which I think is the case, truthfully. We know Aubrey Pleasant had been interviewing a ton for coordinator jobs. I don't think that the Rams, Sean, and it's his decision at the end of the day, let's be honest, would say, oh, you know what? You're interviewing for coordinator jobs. You can't come back. I do believe that Sean evaluated how that group performed poorly for 2 months, like I keep mentioning over and over for the last handful of weeks it's been. And he was like, it wasn't good enough. I mean, think about it, Mark. For someone who was the assistant head coach, Aubrey Pleasant, I'm talking about, someone who also had the pass game coordinator role, right? Who was responsible for all that being in tip top shape and going well. It went badly, very, very badly. And I know he was a good assistant coach in preseason games, being elevated to be the head coach, right? And be the showrunner then. I know a lot of players like him. I know he has good relationship. Everything I hear from him is always so positive, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, his responsibility as a pass game coordinator and DB coach went terribly at the end of the year, and that's a fireable offense. And I know the Rams and Sean May say, hey, we didn't fire him, we relieved him of his duties, or he was let go, whatever. Tomato, tomato. I believed he was canned, and based off him not getting a job elsewhere, I think that's the case, along with Mike Harris, who was an assistant coach helping with the DBs too. They're like, yeah, we're not bringing you two back, Mark. Do you disagree? What do you think with those two guys not returning?
Well, yeah, I mean, the secondary performed so poorly. I think it was a case of I could just see Sean McVay just, please somebody hire this guy, please somebody hire him. I don't have to fire him, and then he had to fire him. So,
Maybe,
um,
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, the buck stops in this past season. Apparently, with the guy in charge of the secondary, next year it may stop with the defensive coordinator. But yeah, the secondary was just horrible over the last 6, 7 games. So yeah, had to go.
Yeah, and again, unfortunate, but let's be real about it, everyone. When he was brought in 2017, solid job with Kayvon Webster and Tremaine Johnson, right? It was a group you're like, oh, wow, look at that. They're playing so well. Then they overhauled it to get a Hall of Fame talent like Aqib Talib at the end of his career. Played great for us. He just got hurt a bunch. Marcus Peters was fantastic in 2018. And then, you know, they sent him away for Jalen Ramsey in 2019. Understandable for prime Jalen Ramsey, who then, with Aqib getting traded as well, got young Darius Williams, prime Jalen. They balled out of control in 2020. 2021 were fantastic again. Then 2022, things dipped, but Aubrey Pleasant left. He went with the Lions for those couple years, and then he got canned by them. And
Right.
that's when their defensive secondary was pitiful there. And Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell said, see you later, dude. Like, we don't want you around. And yeah, a couple years later, so on and so forth, with a couple stops in between, I believe, for Aubrey, he comes back here. Again, respect for who he is as a person, and always enjoyed hearing him talk. But just like the players, and we get mad at them for maybe not producing or not playing to their potential. Coaches got to be held to the same standard, and Sean says that same thing all the time, right? So good luck to him wherever he goes. I hope he lands on his feet and continues to positively impact players, which no doubt about it he did. But I'm not mad or sad to see him go at all.
Yeah, and I seem to remember that I was hoping I was remembering that correctly. When the Rams hired him, I remember a lot of Lions fans were like, "Man, this guy was just did horrible work here with the Lions," but he did okay, and he, like you said, a pretty good track record while he was here. But and you kind of highlighted it. He had a good track record when he had some stud cornerbacks. And I don't know if we've had stud cornerbacks the last couple of years. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Well, look at shout out to Kello. I mean, when Aubrey was
Yeah.
back, I mean, Kello was awesome. He was a Pro Bowl level corner for us 2023, 2024. And
Yeah.
obviously this season went to shit with injuries with him, which is, I mean, who knows if he was healthy, the season may be hosting a Lombardi trophy. Everyone feeling high as a kite right now off that. we'll never know. We live in this timeline where that didn't happen, everyone. But so be it. Him and Mike Harrison. Again, Alex Van Pelt, former coordinator. I mean, your thoughts, Mark, real quick on him not being back. I mean, nothing to really scoff at, right?
Yeah, I can't really comment on it. If he's, it could just be a case of better people available, and let's move on. You have to wonder, a lot of it may have to do with his relationship with Matthew Stafford. A lot of these guys, I mean, that's pretty
Sure.
key. But who knows? I can only guess.
Yeah, and again, he was a senior deep or offensive assistant. I'm sure had some help in game planning and all that. But they rather have the combination of Shieldhouse, Ragone, Eric Yarber, and Kingsbury with Sean, and can't be mad at
Yeah,
that. So
right, right.
hope you find another job soon, Alex Van Pelt. We know you can coach as well. And then obviously Ben Calwigo, like you mentioned, Bubba Ventrone coming in. Nothing to talk about there. That decision has been made. So I mean, we'll see everyone. The coaching staff is set. 4 guys won't be returning. 5 if you include Chase Blackburn getting canned after week 16, which should have been done a lot sooner in the year. Maybe a change earlier would have led to a Rams Super Bowl victory in an alternate timeline. But enough about alternate timelines, I guess, right, Mark? But crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a pretty good staff. I mean, a pretty impressive staff really, and it has to be a little bit bigger than last year, right? It seems like we've
Feels
added
that
a
way
couple of
off the
spots. Yeah.
glance. Feels that way. But watch. We'll probably reference it again at a later time. Be like,
Well,
it's exactly the same.
if we lost 4 and we added 8, is that correct? I think that was the number, but I'm doing public math. We'll talk about it another time.
I'm thinking about it. Oh well, we got it. We got our guy set. But some other news, everyone, as we pull up. Nothing too crazy, but noteworthy. And I know you can say who's really impacting this team here. The exclusive, or what is the proper term? I always screw this up with this.
Reserve future contracts.
Future contracts, right? Not
Yeah.
exclusive rights. That's a separate we talked about earlier. So pretty cool, right? AJR Curry is probably the most notable. Wyatt Bull's another notable guy, and then you got True Edwards, Tanner Ingle, excuse me, who was the preseason missile favorite of everyone. Alex Johnson, Cam Lampkin, Dylan McMahon, Elias Neal, Bill Norton, Brendan Presley, who's been on this team, it feels like for eternity. I'm not hating him, just had seen his name pop up a ton over the years. Mark Redmond, Tyler Scott, Nate, geez, I can't even say his name here. Valcarcel, I hope I said that right.
Yeah.
Jordan Waters, who has been around, and then Mario Williams, all guys signed to those future contracts. So, hey, practice squad, Rams want to keep them around, maybe see if they grow into something more, which I hope for all these guys, whether it's with the Rams or others, but hopefully with the Rams. But other than Ingle and Mark, I know that'd probably be the easy one. Anyone you're curious to see or learn more about as time goes on?
Well, right now, AJ is our backup left tackle. Yeah, I don't know, who here has seen some NFL action? Is our Curry, Tanner Ingle obviously saw some special teams action. Lampkin, a couple of years ago, he got on the field for us a little bit.
Yeah.
Dylan McMahon, a few past, he was an Eagles draft pick, and we stole him off their practice squad. Elias Neal, he's played a little bit for us in special teams. I think Presley was active for 1 game last year. And yeah, just I don't know. I'd be interested to see if Wyatt Bowles and Dylan McMahon can pressure Bo Limmer for a roster spot. I don't know if that's a reach.
I like Bo as he plays as a rookie, so maybe not. I mean,
Yeah.
guys elevate, guys could fall off. We've seen that
Yeah.
plenty with Rams alignment over the years on the staff. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And cool. Well, at least we know who's going to be in OTAs and minicamp and etc. Right? These guys will be around, and we'll
Yeah.
see who else gets added to this team: trades, signings, draft, etc., etc., etc. So there you go, everyone. Future contracts. These guys will be around at least for a little while for the Rams, and we'll see who sticks around after that as well. But
Yeah, we'll get a wave of those undrafted rookies that will pressure these guys for spots on the
oh yeah,
practice squad.
absolutely. Yep. Maybe we get more Alaric Jackson types, right?
Yeah.
Out of nowhere become a staple left tackle in the league.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Omar Spates.
Omar
Spates was another one.
Spades,
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Dolak, and I mean, there's tons of guys throughout the McVay era. We'll see what happens. We'll shout out to those guys though for at least securing a spot for now. And Mark, we talked about last time you and I got together, or at least a couple times ago. Forgive me for not remembering exactly how we got Macaulay, the TV rules analyst for Amazon Prime, calling in saying, "Hey, the 2 point conversion that Charbonnet picked up kind of coincidentally should count. Change the ruling after everyone was lining up to, do the kickoff right after that, and how ridiculous that bullshit was. And that is bullshit. Excuse my language. I'm not sorry about it right now. Sorry. But it's nice to see that the Rams are recognizing this, recognizing the absurdity of the play itself. And according to Pro Football Talk, who good on them, Mike Florio, geez, too many Mikes in the NFL, and his staff, they're digging deep on this issue like they did originally, unearthing that Macaulay called in. They say the Rams reportedly will propose a rule change regarding the wacky 2 point play by the Seahawks that arguably altered the course of the season. Yeah, no shit that it did that, right, Mark? But we'll see what happens. We're a little bit a ways away from finding out the nitty gritty of what the rule is that the Rams want changed exactly. But it better start out with, let's not get some damn TV analysts calling in to alter games, right?
Yeah, I mean that there's two possible components here. One is that, and that should be obvious. They should not be
Jesus.
taking calls from anybody. It should be predefined who can call, and it should be employees of the NFL. And the other part of it is, the continuous action aspect of it.
Yeah, that
I
was
don't know
dumb
how.
too, dude.
Yeah, I don't know how you address that. What's going to happen moving forward is that anytime that was a strange play because it was tipped and Cam Curl almost caught it,
Yeah.
and did they blow it dead? They blow it dead. The game play should be
Yes.
over. And so I don't know how you fix that, but what you're going to see is, in ensuing plays like that, you're going to see mad scrambles, everybody killing themselves, killing each other, trying to get possession of a tipped ball. Yeah, that's I don't. It'd be interesting to find out what they're actually asking for, but yeah, you're right. It has to start with no phone calls from employees of Amazon.
Yeah, Macaulay, you either want to be a TV analyst talking about the game or be a ref again and work for the NFL. None of this back and forth bullshit that we saw on Thursday night. And then obviously found out not too long ago, credit to PFT and Mike Florio and his squad digging deep on all that. So no doubt about it. And then to your point about the continuous action, which is its own dumbass rule that's in place. And look, Rams deserve to lose the game. I've said this tons of times. There's so much more that happened after that. The Rams deserve to lose the game based on how they played from that point forward, and even before then, really. But I'll sum it up shortly. What do you want the players to do in that situation? Because it was blown dead, you can bet your bottom dollar if a Rams defensive player would have jumped on the ball, would have been trying to shove opposing Seahawks fans, that would have been a 15-yard unsportsmanlike. So what do you want them to do in that situation, right? Where it's like, oh, continuous action. The ball was live. Everyone on earth knows that if the Rams would have played that tough, like the play was alive and hitting defenders and blocking, someone would have got a unsportsmanlike penalty on them. So that rule needs to be addressed for how long it went after the play was whistle dead. And then Charbonnet's like, oh, let me go pick up the ball. Here you go, everyone. Let's get to the kickoff. I mean, give me a break on that. So I hope the Rams address the football aspect of it, which is that play and continuous action and how full of shit all that was. And then obviously the TV analyst nonsense. Just wanted to make that clear where
Yeah,
I
and
stand on
and,
that.
and one of the commentators said had the gall to compliment Charbonnet on his alertness and for being aware for grabbing that ball.
Yeah,
It's like he was just being a gentleman handing the
right,
ball
that's
to the
right, a
referee.
gentleman. Yeah, so I don't. Again, for any Seahawks fans being like, "Boo hoo, dude," Rams deserve to lose the game, but we can also point out that everything that transpired for that 2 point conversion on the field and literally off the field on a phone call was insane and stupid. So good on the Rams for presenting that. Hopefully things get passed. But Mark, also in tandem with that, maybe not Rams centric, but probably Rams related. ESPN puts out with Adam Schefter reporting that the NFL competition committee, which Coach McVay, Sean McVay, is a part of too, by the way, is discussing the possibility of authorizing replay officials to throw flags for specific penalties. Interesting. Some members are coalescing this week around a possible entry point, which would be like non-football acts that have gone unpenalized by on-field officials. Maybe like that Seahawks game, everyone. Where was it? Hall, the D tackle for the Seattle
All
Seahawks,
right.
steps on
Right.
Kevin Dotson, doesn't get flagged, but later gets suspended. Good, at least that came to fruition. So stuff like that, cool. Maybe there's other crazy bottom of the pile plays, people getting eyes poked, which maybe isn't as common as it used to be way back in the day, 70s and back, which I'm sure that happened tons. I'm cool with that. And maybe the Rams controversy sparks this to be a thing. Whatever we got to do to get things right, Mark, and not have a bunch of wacky plays that don't make sense or guys doing shit. And you're like, why wasn't that thrown? Why was that called? That shouldn't have been called. Why not use the technology to get things right? So I'm in favor of this being the case. And we'll see with Sean McVay's influence in the competition committee. This will be another thing to keep an eye on very soon, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's related to this, and maybe it is, maybe it would be, but what's always driven me crazy is, everybody seems to be okay with the second act, two guys get into a pushing match.
That's
The
a good point too. Yep.
one guy shoves another guy, and it happened to Puka against Seattle,
Yep.
coincidentally, a couple years ago, and he retaliates, and everybody's always been okay with that. Well, they always get the second guy. Well, that's wrong. That's
That's a
wrong.
great point. You bring that up.
Yeah.
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 Either the first guy gets it or it's offsetting. Puka got ejected for that.
Dude, I know.
So yeah, so they need to fix that. If that's part of fixing that, I'm all for it too.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, well, with coaches, owners, executives, agents, there'll be a ton of Rams news coming out that influences the team. Probably some free agent trade acquisition stuff, right? As important people are all together, right? This is where talks could start brewing, rumors that have some legitimate traction, not just Max Crosby hates the Raiders, excuse me. He doesn't want to be there. We'll probably get some official word on all these things soon. That's just one example, Crosby, of course. But I mean, hey, we'll see what happens, Mark. The refereeing, replay, it's an issue. It's been an issue. This year was probably some of the worst I've seen, not just for Rams games, for NFL games in general. And it's just like everyone sees it and like things aren't getting done. So hopefully this offseason things will improve. But I don't know, dude. When you got Roger Goodell saying, hey, it was a great year of refereeing, I mean, give me a fucking break, Goodell. I mean, what are we talking about, bro? But I get it. He works for the NFL, works for the owners. I mean, is he really going to rip into them? That's probably not what he's getting paid for. We're just being honest about it. But hope to see improvement, Mark, hopefully.
Yeah, and on another note, we'll continue our. I'm continuing my analysis position by position, free agency, and kind of setting it up for the draft as well. I got my wide receiver assessment all locked and loaded here in the next couple of days, and I know Ian's going to be sharing some thoughts as well too. We've gotten through cornerbacks, safeties, and left tackles. And we'll press on with that over the next few weeks as we get to free agency.
Yep. I am almost done watching all the free agent corners. And let me tell you, I don't have a big list for who the Rams should target. I have a little wink, wink preview for you guys. I'll be done probably by the end of this week. And then maybe next week or no, not maybe. Next week, you'll have an answer based on film who I like from the cornerback group and who should the Rams actually target and give money to. Of course, maybe there'll be a bargain. Maybe the guys who have to pay some cash out to. But that analysis, wide receivers, I've been looking at too, Mark. So we'll have the final stamp of approval from us very, very soon. And shout out to all the early, what's the word I want to say, prognosis from Scott, from Farbode, from you, Mark, as well. But the film don't lie, everyone. And we'll combine all these thoughts together to be like, all right, the Rams need to get this guy. Let's not get that guy. And we'll have all those answers for you very, very soon. As yes, free agency is upon us. Trades may be happening. cuts, releases. We'll find out with the impending Rams free agents what their decisions will be. I think maybe we're getting an idea with all these DB coaches being let go and that being changed, who's coming back and who's probably not coming back, at least player wise. And we'll see what happens, everyone. But I mean, Mark, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. Good. We've been on for an hour. I'm good.
Yep, a lot to talk about, and we sometimes we may stretch it out a little longer than originally planned, but that's how it goes. Talking Rams football, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Whether you're on YouTube, subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, whether you're on the audio podcast only side of things, no matter what, everyone, we appreciate it. Keep sharing it all. It helps other Rams fans see our content. And here's to another 3,000 of subscribers that enjoy our content, and we hope to see more of you tune in. If you're new, again, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any other video in the upcoming months. Very important months. Logos, uniforms, free agency, draft. Woo! I'm excited. Let's go win a championship very soon, everyone. But no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, always rep it blue and yellow, rep it proud, rep it loud, and always, as well, throw up the horns, and you know what to say. Go Rams.